Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to the Trailblazers podcast for another short video. We hope you're all doing well today. Today we have another topic that we're going to cover today for Dave and I to share our thoughts on, and that topic is going to be how do you make your first month at a new company a success? That first 30 days, what are a few things that you can do to kind of set yourself up for success in the future? Because first impressions kind of mean a lot when you're meeting your new team, the new people, getting integrated into the environment, all that jazz. So Dave and I have some thoughts about, kind of an overview, what you can do at any company to kind of make that a little bit better. And I think I'll just go ahead and kick us off. So one of the first things that I would say that you can do is, and I'm going to steal this advice from Chris Hadfield, who was a Canadian astronaut, and his advice when you join a new team is to try and actually be a zero. And the idea behind this is don't go in there, try to be a hero, make a big change right away, and try to be super impactful and make all of these impacts on the company. The idea is to just actually not be a net negative for your company and for your team for that first little bit. And the way you do this is just kind of by like learning the environment, how the team works the way they do, the practices, procedures, and processes, things of that nature. And just because it's not done the way it was done at your previous organization or the way you learned it, there's probably some good history there about why they do the things the way they do them. So it's really worth getting into that environment, talking with team members, introducing yourself to everybody, learning what their role is at the company. If you're going to a tech company, what's the tech stack? If it's not something you used at the last company, why are they using it, sort of thing, and how does it fit into their environment? So that first bit of advice that I'm going to bring up is just how to be more of a zero, like really get in there and don't change anything, really just try to integrate into the environment. And then you can start after a while, once you know the history, once you know the environment, bring in your experience from your old company or your old organization and see how you can make kind of a positive impact, but do your due diligence first on why things are the way they are. And you'll earn a lot more respect from your team members by doing that as well, showing that you're really interested into all the efforts they put in to get to the company and organization to that point already. So that would kind of be my first bit of advice is just be a zero. Don't try to be a hero the second you get there. Dave, what are your thoughts on that?
Totally. I think when you're just joining a team, probably what you're really wanting to do is just get the lay of the land. Exactly like you're mentioning, Tyler, you don't want to go in and start suggesting things right away because, people might be thinking you're just rocking the boat a little bit too much. But instead, what you could do is say, like over the 30, 60, 90-day plans of your first 3 months there, start to kind of understand, like you're mentioning, Tyler, maybe it's a tech company, you're understanding the tech stack, or maybe as an accountant understand like what softwares or tools they're using, what processes, how do they bill clients, etc. Right? And I think just that initiative of rather than say rocking the boat, but understanding how everything's working, that can make people a lot more comfortable. For me, my first tip when joining a team within the first month is start to go and basically meet your teammates. And so right now, say like in a remote work from home environment, this could mean like basically asking your boss or your direct manager, okay, like who should I be talking to, right? And then maybe they're going to give you 2 or 3 people. And then after you talk to those two, and then what you should do is something like this. Don't passively like wait for these people to reach out to you. Like go and reach out to them and introduce yourself. Hey, I'm this person. My name's Tyler. I'm joining the artificial intelligence team at this company. I was previously here. Would you be willing to make 30 minutes to chat? Our manager suggested it'd be great for us to connect, right? Cool. You reach out to them, you set up a time, you talk with them, and then what you should do is something like this: is like once you reach out to them, then when you're finishing up your conversation with them, ask them the same thing that you asked your manager, like who should I be talking to? Who should I be reach out to, right? And then they're going to kind of go like this. So what's going to happen is you're going to start to have like this nice like kind of like internal network or team within your company that like know who you are. They understand your background a little bit, maybe a little bit of like what you will or could be working on within the company. And then afterwards, you're going to meet more and more people while this is occurring, and it's just going to kind of keep branching you out. And then I think what happens because of this is it gives people the impression too that you're like a person who takes initiative, right? You're not going to like wait for things to happen to you within the company. And I think because you're taking that initiative, it's going to look really good on your impression of your managers and your coworkers and whatnot after that first 30, 60, 90 days. Tyler, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that that's really good advice. And like you say, it shows that you have initiative to kind of go and learn this about other people's roles in the company. And it's definitely harder to do now in kind of the remote age when there's so much remote work going on online. So you can't really just stop by somebody else in the hallway or drop by somebody's desk to do this, but you can actually use this to your own advantage, because if you're going through the trouble to set up a meeting and talk to somebody remotely, then it shows just that extra effort that you do really want to learn about their position and what they do. And another thing that I would kind of toss on top of that is if you really have the opportunity to do any job shadowing for other people in the company. So it's like, just, hey, let me drop by for a couple hours while you're doing your thing. If it's a developer, if they're coding, kind of walk through whatever they're coding, or if it's, somebody from the marketing team, it's just like, let you sit in on some calls with some clients, something like that. This is especially important if you get into a position of authority, like if you're a product manager, project manager, if you really know in depth kind of the roles of what everybody else is doing, it'll help you in the company. So I really agree that, and then yes, it does expand your network within the company, which is incredibly useful, and it'll pay huge dividends down the line as well. And you got to keep in mind that when you first join a company, they don't really expect you to really output a whole bunch in that first period of time that you're there, that first 30 days, 60 days. They want you to get the lay of the land. So you're never going to have this opportunity again to go and learn about what everybody else is doing. Because think about like 3-4 months down the road, you're usually going to be swamped with work, and you're not going to have this extra hour to go and meet somebody and learn about this. So you got to really take advantage of it. Now, the next thing that I would add on is kind of the day and age that we're in. We're seeing a lot more of multicultural teams and people that come from different backgrounds, especially when it comes to working habits and customs. And so it's really important to get to know your team on a personal level, because if you have, especially an international team across different time zones and things like this, and people that come from different backgrounds, the way people that do meetings might not be the same. The time they start working might not be the same. The way they interact with clients or other team members might not be the same. So it's really worth putting in the effort to have open conversations with your colleagues about what their working habits are, and trying to do a little bit of due diligence on your own to figure out what that is. And on top of that, something that I've not discounted in the past, but haven't, realized it's important is attending team bonding functions outside of work. Mm-hmm. I think that's super important, because a lot of companies will have this. And then if they don't have this, you can kind of take the initiative to get to know some people outside of the workplace. This will, again, pay huge dividends when you're working with them. It makes that working relationship a lot easier. It's something that I didn't do right at the beginning in the past, and now I've been doing it more and more recently. And it definitely makes that working relationship a lot better and helps bridge that, if there's a cultural gap or a working customs gap or something like that, it helps a lot with that too. And so if you can do that right when you get to the company, it's just going to make your life easier there in the long run. What would you think about that, Dave?
Yeah, completely agree. And I think some of the things that I'd add on to that is it gives kind of like that personal touch too with your communication if you're going and making those relationships outside of the workplace. And then I think on the other point as well, Tyler, that I'll touch on is in the multicultural international team environments. I think it's very important and like very useful, for example, to always keep in mind that, say, the way people work, their styles and their way of communicating will be different depending on, it could be even the same country, but just different, provinces or states or whatnot, right? And so it's always like at the back of your mind, like have that patience and like have that empathy to remind yourself that like the way that everybody's working is going to be like a little bit different in each independent context. And also, Tyler, I like the fact that you're talking about like participating and joining these bonding functions outside of the work. Once again, right now, if your company's remote, this might look a little bit different. Maybe it's like a virtual happy hour, virtual coffee, meet and greet. But I think no matter what, this is a good way to start or like build some relationships, because what happens a lot of times is like, even if you might be in a city or a place working remote, perhaps you have other coworkers related or located semi-close to you, for example. And so like a time when this has been useful for me in the past before Tyler was like, I had a coworker also living in the same city, and then we decided we'd start biking together because they were also into biking, and then we'd be able to talk a little bit about work stuff while we're on the bike, right? And I'm sure something like how this could work now is you have a similar passion. Oh, I like painting. You like painting too. Cool. Let's go to this paint class, yoga, right? So, and then it's just like, your teams bond a lot better when you have these common interests, even if, these common interests have nothing to do with your work. You're more likely, to develop like stronger relationships and bonds with your teams or your, like the people within your company. So I feel like this is a really good way to kind of get off the ground running within your new company, have a way to develop strong relationships with your teammates, understand that basically like everybody's backgrounds and work preferences might be a little bit different. So have like the patience and empathy to understand where the, differences are and like, how actually these differences build and support your team's growth. And then, and my point being is that at the very beginning is you want to go and reach out to your teammates is basically diligently as possible and try to kind of make that initiative known that you want to, understand what people are working on in the teams, and then also like introduce yourself so people have an idea of what your background is and maybe some of the things you could be working on. And then, as Tyler's first tip was, be a zero when you come in. Don't rock the boat. Just be patient and basically understand like the lay of the land and connect with your teammates and your colleagues, but don't do too much. So I think, this is kind of the summary for today. And I hope if you guys are starting new positions soon, that everything will be going awesome. And hopefully with these 3 tips, that'll help your first 30, 60, 90 days in your new company even that much better.
Yeah, good luck, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.